flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remind you, if you could please silence your electronic devices, that would be greatly appreciated. Good afternoon, everyone. I call the Village of Massena Board of Trustees meeting for June 18, 2019 to order. Roll call, Ms. Winston. Present. Mr. Carville.
Here.
Mr. Deshays.
Here.
Mr. Levere.
Here.
I am here. Reports of officers and committees, the treasurer's report. Mr. Felt.
Hello, everyone. I have handed out all the preliminary projections, as well as the reports. Should have been in your bins last week. I handed them out to the department heads as well. If you look at the summary below the number one, you'll see that they are skewed, and that is because a lot of the accruals now have not been entered yet. So we're kind of at that point now where we're starting to work on accruals. So that number will obviously change. Number two, village tax collection. Through Friday, we've collected 1.19 million, almost 1.2, 18.8%. It's a little bit behind what it was last year, but that can be just because of the mortgage companies. Last year we might have gotten more in by now because they send in big chunks of money for all the properties that they have for mortgages, so for the escrow accounts. So that's not unusual. But we're continuing to collect. Mortgage tax was received on June 5th. It's down $16,629.88 in the same period last year, about 26%. Again, you never know how that's going to go. It could go up or down either way. It's hard to say it's an indicator unless you look at a bigger trend. But looking at just from one year to the next isn't always indicative of anything. So take it with a grain of salt. Number four, the budget amendments, transfers for the end of the year, 18-19. Need a motion to adopt either one at a time, which is a bunch of them, or you can do it all together, I believe.
You could do one at a time.
Yeah, without objection, I'd like to do each account separately. So I entertain a motion for the general fund.
So moved.
Mr. Levere, second by Mr. Deshays. Any discussion?
No, it's just a motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Refuse fund, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Levere, second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Water fund, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Levere,
Second.
second by Ms. Winston. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sewer fund, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Levere. Your second.
I'll second.
Ms. Winston, she barely beat you there.
Okay.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the joint recreation fund, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Deshays.
Second.
Second by Mr. Levere. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So these were provided to trustees in advance. That's why we didn't discuss them. Certainly they're available to anyone who would like to get copies of that. Continuing, Mr. Feld.
Number five is the police chief is requesting to transfer $7,932 from the contingency account in the general fund to put into his police equipment account, the 3120-200, for the purchase of 7 new computers that are reaching the end of life that was not budgeted for in the 1920 budget. And he's not here to discuss that, to elaborate any. He was notified by his IT group that Windows 7 is going to be no longer supported for updates and security and all those kind of things as of January of 2020. So she looked in and found that he had 7 computers. He's got more computers than that, but only 7 of them have to be replaced. The remaining computers that he has are new enough to where they can just upgrade through a software upgrade to bring them to a newer version. But these 7 computers are kind of old enough to where they can't be upgraded at this point. So if we were to continue using them, they wouldn't be supported by Microsoft and get patches and updates and securities that would keep them protected. So that's why he's needing to get 7 new computers.
So as was explained, this came in after we did our budget. We weren't aware of it, so it also has caused us, so Lisa Tile, who handles our internal stuff with IT, has talked with Twin State, who is our vendor. About half of our computers in the rest of the village offices are okay. Most can be updated to Windows 10 for about $200, but some of them that are older than I think 5 years or more have to be completely replaced, and we're looking at that right now, which ones will have to be replaced in our office as well.
So I'm actually going to motion we table this to next meeting. I'd like more specifics on the breakdown of the computers, the specs, the cost. It just seems there might be a little bit of savings to be had there, especially on the upgrade cost. I got a feeling there's probably some labor charges in there that we should be looking to see if it's something we can, every little bit helps. So I would like, personally, I'd like to see more information. And end of life is not until 2020, I forget which month.
January 2020.
So we've got a tiny bit of wiggle room in there, so I'm going to motion we table for the following meeting.
I think if we don't motion at all, we'll just bring it up. I think what would make sense too is that then we'll have a full picture of the entire village.
Okay.
So we can break it down. So provided we don't hear a motion to deal with this, we can just.
Well, then I withdraw my motion.
Number 6.
Number 6 is the DPW superintendent requesting to allocate $80,000 from the unappropriated fund balance in the water fund to 3 projects, Bailey Road, South Main Street pipe bursting, and Route 37/Mulby to Stephenville. The accounts affected will be to transfer $80,000 from the water fund to the water system capital fund, which is the 900 fund. So $399.50 to the 900-5031. The shortfall of $1,033.52, which was the total cost of those 3 projects, is going to come from the unappropriated fund balance in the water system capital fund. There's some excess money in there that can cover that residual. So he wants to use $30,000 from the water fund.
Anything to add, Mr. Fayette?
No, we'll be talking about that, I think in old business, where I also requested on May 21st, board meeting, requested to go out and bid the materials for those 3 projects.
This is just the actual transfer we discussed, right?
Yes.
So
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carl. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7.
The last one is the superintendent requesting to allocate $70,000 from the unappropriated fund balance in the sewer fund to the slip line footbridge project. The accounts affected are going to be $70,000 from the $499.50 transfer line to the 120 capital project line or fund to spend out of the 120-8120-200 account. This one was my fault. This was in the capital project budget right up that Haas had that I didn't see it, so that was missed at budget time when I entered the budget lines. So this is transferring it from the sewer fund into the capital project so that he can go ahead and do it.
So moved.
Mr. LeBeer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carl. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Mr. Phelps? Questions for the treasurer?
I just got one for Haas. That's the pipe that's suspended on the footbridge?
Correct.
Moving on with committee reports, code enforcement, Mr. Carville, Mr. LeBeer.
Nothing.
Economic development, Ms. Winston, Mr. LeBeer.
The BDC meeting is Thursday.
Fire committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. LeBeer.
Meet later on in the month.
We do have one thing just put on trustees' radar. The fire department has been storing for some time the old hearse from the museum. It's been a bit longer than anticipated, so we were planning on reaching out to them to see if we could get an updated timeline on when their new storage facility would be ready to be there, and if it's going to be too long, to work with them on seeing what alternate plans we can have. Couple of reasons. That space could really be utilized for some new training equipment and props that they have, and also we're a little worried about it not being the right conditions for the museum property, so it would be in everyone's best interest to kind of facilitate a movement of that again. So if there's no objections from fellow trustees or mayor, we can discuss that at the next fire committee and reach out to the appropriate town entities.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to take care of it.
It's gone. When did they take it?
A couple days ago.
Thanks for keeping us in the loop, Foreman Ari. Disregard that, trustees. At the next fire committee meeting, we're going to talk about communication instead.
I was surprised too. It's been that way.
That's great news. Thank you.
Yes. Personnel Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. Hayes.
Anything new to report?
Police Committee, Mr. Carville, Mr. Shays.
Nothing at this time.
Recreation Commission, Mr. Shays.
Yeah, at the meeting we had, Mike McCabe brought out a brochure that he's gonna pass out, hand out, all the activities that they do during the course of the year. He's gonna pass out before the school gets done. It's a pretty good written up article on the inside of it. So even for your benefit, go down there at the arena, stop down, see Mike McCabe, and he'll give you something like this. I think it's very, very important to know what's going on. And if you notice, 10 guys on top of that roof, putting that roof on, they're hoping this will be done before graduation, which is June the 29th. So they need to be done by then.
We can get up there and help.
You should find holes not. There was a AMVET ceremony they had for the veterans. They had 300 people attended at the arena for. And summer employees are all hired, and starts July 1st, recreation till August, what did I say, 29th? To August 8th, July 1st, August 8th is a recreation, recreation day. Playground is working on a playground down in Massena Springs. And they have a movie night, they said every Friday night. I don't know if that's true or not. Do they have a movie every night?
They're having a fourth one in a row, so it's not every
Is that
Friday,
what it
but
is?
yeah, there's a series they do.
Is that the one in conjunction with what's going to be up front here? Is that
Different.
Different, okay. Then they have nurse wars, they kind of cancel that, they don't get enough people to participate in it, so we try to build it up to get you interested. That's about all I got for now. Our July meeting will be held at the town beach at 9 o'clock in the morning for July. Thank you.
Street Committee, Ms. Winston, Mr. Legault.
We get a discussion item later on.
Water and Sewer, Ms. Winston, Mr. Legault. Initial public comment period. As always, we ask you to please come to the podium, state your name for the record. Initial public comment. Seeing none, moving on to old business, award bids for material bids 2019 and 20. Mr. Fayad.
Yes, as initially stated, back in May 21st at the board meeting, I requested to allow me to purchase materials for the 3 projects that we have upcoming. This is, again, what we're trying to do is keep up with our infrastructure, replace the faulty infrastructure down on South Main Street and also on the highway. So in doing so, I developed specifications and sent them out. We advertised in the paper and sent to various vendors that typically bid this product out. The three vendors that were sent out that requested the information were Ferguson Waterworks, Core and Main, and Blair Supply for the ductile iron materials for the project. Now, all these projects have a little bit of ductile iron involved in them. And there are some of them that have the HDPE product as well. So the ductile iron products came in of $66,564.50 was the low bid from Ferguson Waterworks. And then the HDPE material, which is the plastic, it's a thick plastic that's drawn in behind the hammerhead of the bursting machine. That's for the highway crossing and also for going underneath the railroad tracks on South Main Street. That came in from Blair Supply of $14,469.02 for those two items. So the total amount for the project was $81,033.52 for those products, the material we needed for those three projects.
Entertain a motion to award the bids to both low bidders.
So moved.
Mr. Revere, second by Mr. Deshaies. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Award bids for water main crossing for State Route 37 at Urban Drive and State Route 420 at Depot. Mr. Babb.
Again, going hand in glove with the material purchases that we just made, the Village of Massena Public Works developed a set of specifications to replace the pipelines underneath the highway as we've been doing for the last several years, and as well as the South Main Street project where there's two pipes crossing underneath the railroad tracks. We're going to replace them by pipe bursting as well. Again, we did the advertising in the paper and sent it out to various vendors. You can see the memo indicates a company by the name of Portland Utility Construction out of Tennessee. They were interested in it. Actually, they contacted us and they were interested in specs, however, they did not bid it. So the only bidder that we have is Centerline Trenchless Construction LLC from Blosville, New York. That is a spin-off company of Demand Construction, who has been doing our work since the crossing of the Racket River Bridge many years ago. So they're the only bidders for $80,000. It's unfortunate that they're the only bidders, but we reached out to many of the companies, but no interest.
What was the budgeted amount?
It's within the budget.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Revere, second by Mr. Deshaies. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving to new business, we have a proposed resolution to approve the intermunicipal agreement with the Massena Central School District regarding a mower. Mr. Babb.
Okay. The Massena Central School District has offered us the woods mower that they no longer have a need for. And we have a twin to that mower, so when ours goes down, we can have a second one as a backup. And in turn, what they would like for us to do is to assist them periodically throughout this next year, assisting them in whatever issues they may run into, such as a plug sewer or a broken water main or whatever. So we appreciate the opportunity, and that's where the agreement is.
And those are things we routinely help them with anyways.
We do. Nothing.
So this seems simple, but it was a lot of work. It's just because of education law, and it just speaks to the relationship we have with the school district, where both parties just took a deep breath and did everything that was necessary to make this happen and fall within education law and all those things. So
And it only makes sense to organizations our size should be working together, so sure.
Second.
motion by Mr. Revere, second by Mr. Carville. Discussion.
It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, that's
Right.
ridiculous. That's what we're here for, to help each other out.
It's a resolution. We'll poll individually. Ms. Winston.
Aye.
Mr. Carville.
Aye.
Mr. Deshaies.
Aye.
Mr. Revere.
Aye.
Resolution carries. 5B, we have a proposed resolution to approve professional services agreement with Public Sector HR LLC for Employee Family Medical Leave Act Administration. As you know, this is the same firm that is We've contracted with them to rewrite our personnel policy. From time to time, we have requests for family medical leave. It is a unique law. It's one we don't deal with a great deal. So we found a lot of questions came up, so we reached out to consult with them, and we thought we'd formalize this process so that on the occasion we have this and we don't have the experience in dealing with it, we want to make sure we get it right, so we rely on them. And they do all of the steps. They send the letter, and we still make the decisions. We don't lose control, but they formalize everything into a proper format so that we're making sure that, number one, we're following the law and we're documenting it correctly. Mr. Levere.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. It's a resolution pulled individually. Ms. Winston.
Aye.
Mr. Carville.
Aye.
Mr. Shays.
Aye.
Mr. Levere.
Aye.
Resolution carries. So C, D, E, and F are, we need to schedule public hearings with a special date, hold a special meeting to approve resolutions to apply for the consolidated funding applications for the state. Because of the time frame of when our next meeting is, when the applications are due, that doesn't work, so we need to come up with a special date when you're available to meet, and then schedule these, and then, of course, when we do the resolutions, there'll be more details on these particular applications that we're looking at. We started with about 10 or 11 project ideas, and in working with the town of Massena, the Business Development Corporation, and our staff, came down to these four for village application.
Is there a preferred date you'd like to have these done by?
What's the time frame? Between 6:28 and 7:11.
Any preference?
What's up? 30th, June 30th. Okay, so June 30th. July 2nd is a Tuesday.
That works.
Second.
5:30. Okay.
So we can start at these 5:30, 5:31, 5:32, 5:33.
July 2nd at 5:30.
So 5:30,
I'm not here.
35, 40, 45. So July 2?
What day is it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Less.
5:30?
We could. I mean, if you go over, that's fine, but you don't have to wait 5 minutes if you don't.
Okay. So it's July 2nd, starting at 5:30. So under C, we would authorize, we schedule a public hearing for July 2nd, 2019 at 5:30. So a motion, Mr. Levere.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under D, we would schedule a public hearing for July 2nd, 2019 at 5:31 p.m.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Levere, second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under E, schedule a public hearing for July 2nd, 2019 for 5:32 p.m.
So moved.
Mr. Levere, second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And under F, schedule a public hearing for July 2nd, 2019 for 5:33 p.m. Moved by Mr. Levere.
Second.
Second by Mr. Deshays. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. G, Town of Messina branding and identity proposal by H3 Designs. So we sent this to you a while ago via email.
Right.
So I'll just read the email from Councilman Carbone. So as we spoke about the town's proposal for branding, logo, website, and app, we'd like to know if the village's interested in going in on the proposal from H3 Designs. I've spoken to the supervisor about sharing with the village, but haven't broached the subject with with Jason, who is the H3 Designs owner. I wanted to see if there's interest from the village first, with the printing at $12,000, the annual cost for all other services would be $24,584 for an annual amount. We split evenly $12,292 per year, plus the printed material cost. I break this down this way as I feel it presents better at $24,584 per year for 2 years. Thoughts, discussion?
I have a few. I think it's a great idea and happy to hear that they're moving forward with it. To centralize everything onto one branding message and one website, and you know, consistency is a great thing when you're talking marketing and branding. So kudos to them for moving that direction. I have a lot of questions though. Are they looking for the village to be a silent partner and funding only? Are they looking for us to be involved with the creative process? He mentioned splitting evenly, but that evening in their meeting, they indicated they were also going to be seeking funding from the airline. So would it be a third split? Just would like a little more context and details before making any decision personally. You guys.
Well, you gotta start someplace. I think
It's a good move.
it's a good step in the right direction. You've been fighting for them forever.
Yeah.
Whether we can afford it or we want to afford it, that's something else. That's the name of the ballgame.
And I did speak with Jason from H3 Designs, and I will say I'm very optimistic. His energy and creativity seems to really be strong on this one. So I'm optimistic their end product is going to be great. I just have a lot of questions in terms of our involvement.
Sounds good, get a few more details.
So I think I'm hearing we're not against it, but we want more details on it. So I'll engage in a conversation with them to try to get more details, work it out. We can address this at the next meeting.
Good.
Okay. Discussion the milling and paving of Main Street from Maple Street to State Route 37. So you may have noticed already, our Public Works is working with DOT to, I think, raise the manhole covers in preparation for the state to come in and what's called mill and fill. And I'm going to let the Public Works Superintendent get into that. But we have been engaging in conversations with DOT because you're talking about Main Street. More than 8,300 cars traverse the Main Street every single day. So there'll be a little bit of a disruption for about a week. So we've been working with DOT. We want to make sure proper notification is made so people know. And I'll turn it over to the superintendent. Mr. Babb.
Thank you. Like the mayor said, the New York State DOT approached us in May of 2019 and told us that they were going to, what they call mill and fill Main Street from Maple to the highway. And what that means is they're going to grind down the asphalt that we have here 2 inches and then put another 2 inches back on top of it, just to level things out, make it smooth. And that was towards the end of May that they told us this. So we immediately jumped on the infrastructure work that we had to do. Many of the manhole covers and valve box covers were below the surface of the asphalt, so we had to get them up. So one, they're accessible to us, which is the primary reason, and then two, is so that the equipment doesn't grind the tops of those things off and ruin the equipment. So we had 23 manhole structures that we had to raise. We will be complete by tomorrow with those manhole structures. We had 18 valve boxes, those are complete, and then once we're done with the manholes, we gotta jump onto the catch bases, the drop inlets, if you will. There's 3 of those that we gotta do. And since they sprung this on us, we had to order more materials, which was unanticipated in my budget, but it's a $7,700 cost that we had to purchase additional materials such as riser rings and steel riser ring columns. We had a potential leak over here in front of the museum. The guys are looking for it. So hopefully they can find it before they do the paving. But anyway, once we find it, we'll be able to dig it up and repair it. Like like I said, the DOT notified the village that the milling contractor, who was Reichenberg, will be here next Wednesday, June 26th. So, we were hoping, and there's a slim chance that this would happen, but we were hoping that they would do nighttime work, nighttime activity, just so that we don't interrupt the traffic flow, the parking for the local merchants, and it'd be a lot safer as well. However, DOT got some concerns in regards to that. They didn't include that in their original specifications when they went out and bid this project out. Like the mayor had indicated, the milling should take approximately 2 days, and the paving should take approximately 3 days. They're trying to pin down a paving contractor, which is Barrett Paving. They have a construction outfit out of Watertown, that's all they do in this region, is go around and pave. Once that is complete, the paving is complete, then painting. Department of Transportation will come through and paint the center lines and any of the white lines on the sides. And that'll take about a day for them to do, but then the village of Massena has to come in and paint all the parking stalls and the crosswalks and all that stuff. And that's gonna, I've allocated 2 weeks for that, but that should not impact the parking as much as the grinding and milling, or the milling and paving. Advertisement, DPW will put it on their Facebook page, so people can spread the word. Local papers, hopefully the local advertisers, the radio, and the DOT will have a message board for us so that we can also let people know that this is up and coming. And they're going to put that out, I think, sometime later this week.
Questions?
Be inconvenience, but to maintain that infrastructure and keep it in good shape, it's a win.
There should, there'll always be traffic, other than, they might have to stop it for a minute or two, but there'll at least be one lane open, there'll be traction. It's gonna be an inconvenience, but it really is for the good of everyone. Voucher warrants.
I move that the voucher signed by trustee Carville and the mayor and myself be approved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carver. Discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Monthly reports, Volunteer Fire Department, Inc., 2019 for May, and the Permanent Firefighters and Code Enforcement for 2019 May. We saw communications, Northern New York Volunteer Firemen Association's convention is this weekend in Louisville, so I suspect we'll get lots of overflow here, so we welcome our guests from out of town. Tomorrow is the annual drill and inspection for the fire department, if you can make it at 6 o'clock. It's always a nice event to inspect the fire department and to have some conversation with them. That's all I have for the communications. Closing public comment period. Questions from the media?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. So under new business items E and F, the Grass River Dairy Project and Start Center Project, what are those? I've never heard those terms before.
I can tell you generally, more information will come when we have the public hearing.
Sure.
The Grass River Dairy Project, that's actually, both these projects are part of our DRI application also.
Okay.
So the dairy project is two private citizens who are looking to convert a structure in the downtown core to a value-added dairy plant. So in other words, it takes dairy from here in the North Country, adds value to it, makes ice cream, makes yogurt, makes milk, whatever the case may be. So they have a small storefront and certainly manufacture everything right there and then ship things out as well.
Do they, can you say who the two citizens are?
Can I say? I could say, but I'm not.
Do they have any existing business? Is this an expansion of an existing business, or is this a new business?
This is a new business for them.
Okay,
You're both known in the community, so that much.
sure. Which building are they looking at, or buildings?
We'll be happy to release that at the public hearing.
Okay. And what's this other?
So the Start Center is one of the things that are lacking really all over the country, but in North Country is skills training for labor-related jobs. So the Start Center is a training center for labor-type jobs, so carpenters, electricians, those types of things. Again, part of the BR application, and this is also being included in the CFA application process.
So who would be running the Starts? Would it be like a new corporation or a new board? Like, would this be municipal or private?
Private.
Private. And so who, is it like a new operation, like, or is it an existing?
This particular CFA application would provide for a study, feasibility study. So recognizing need, bringing partners together, identifying partners, and then looking at the particular structure that's being considered and to see if it's even feasible to put it in that structure.
Which structure is being considered?
I'd be happy to disclose that at the public hearing. I like that you do try, Andy.
So who is this the village making the application for this, or is there like a group? It's so you okay? So you guys are going to do the feasibility and see if there's enough interest and ability out there to make it happen, and then you'll decide who's involved if they say, hey, you should do this. Okay. Okay.
And with the CFAs, the consolidated funding applications, depending upon the source that you're applying to, depends on who the applicant is. So
Okay.
It could be a private, so in different projects, it could be the village, it could be
Right.
A private investor, it could be someone else.
Sure.
It could be a combination of both.
Okay. Haas, when do you expect the Main Street paving is actually going to begin? Do you have a date yet, or do you have an estimated date at least?
They're gonna pin down their paving contractor, that being Barrett. But Reifenberg, they will be coming in next Wednesday on the 26th to do the milling.
How do you spell Reifenberg?
Reifenberg.
So, oh, okay, so they're actually going to start milling on the 26th, okay. So they could mill it and have it, and it would be milled for, could possibly be milled for a little bit before the paver can come in,
Yeah.
depending on their availability. Okay, cool. I think that's everything I have. Oh, what was the price that Sam quoted you for the branding H3 proposal?
The total cost is $24,584.
Okay, and then he proposed you pay half of that. Okay. Okay, that's everything I have. Thank you.
Anything else? I do need executive session for collective negotiations pursuant to the Taylor Law and also discussion on proposed or pending current litigation. I don't anticipate that we will take action. Mr. Levere.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carville. Discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned for executive session. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.